talking about the Titans here. The Titans.
Swing and a drive, left field. It's gone! It's gone! It is bedlam at the bank!
The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Podcast right here. You already know. Go fucking subscribe. Go follow.
You are now listening to the 302 Birds Phillies postgame show with Eric, Brendan, Dalt, and Ballpark Tommy. Proudly powered by TickPick. Check out the link in the bio for $10 off your first order today. Let's take it to the show.
I just want to say, okay, I think I had something to do with the Phillies win today. And I only say that because every time that I'm driving on Route 1 or 95, the Phillies absolutely rake. It's been three times now where I'm driving on Route 1, and you can ask Dalt, because I text Dalt each time, the Phillies rake each time I'm driving, dude. Every time.
Dude, it's a good luck charm. I'm just telling you, maybe if they go out in the World Series and if they start having some bad luck, I think I said it before, just get in your car and just start driving on Route 1 and hopefully things change for the better.
Dude, honestly, like, I mean, I had the game on and like I'm sitting there and they were just raking, dude. Like Phillips was going off, and we're going to talk about all this in a few minutes, but like Phillips was going off. They were finally looking back to their old selves with hitting and just being on base and not being stupid. I didn't really watch the game last night. That's why we didn't do a show last night, because I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, which I highly recommend for any of you watching. But like, again, this team needed this win tonight. And it just shows that they can play how we all know that they should be playing. Not the way that they've been playing the past couple of nights, which is absolute dog shit.
Yeah, that's very, like, you saw Marsh's home run today. I think that somebody said that I was like a 0-25 plate appearance or something like that, which it was awful. But the fact that he was able to get out there, crank one, Casty cranked one today. I mean, I know Casty's came later in the game, I think, but that fourth inning especially, man, Schwarber had a multiple home run. The bats were alive today. And that game for Tyler Phillips, as you already alluded to, and as we'll get to in a minute, I mean, this kid's going to have all the confidence. I feel like every time I come on here, I'm just talking about how his confidence is going to get better. And man, that kid is going to have all the confidence in the world, I think, after his start. But man.
Yeah, I mean, he looked absolutely dominant today. Looking at his stat line, he had a complete game shutout. This is the fourth complete game shutout for our pitching staff this year. Trying to look here at who has one. Tyler Phillips, Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, and Aaron Nola. So, I mean, that's four of your starting five that have a complete game shutout. The only person that doesn't have a complete game shutout right now is Wheeler, and he's your starting ace. And then if you want to count Walker, which Walker threw live BP today, which it was surprising because he doesn't normally throw 93 miles per hour in live practice, but he was getting his velocity up there. So, I mean, he might be ready to start here in a couple days. Hopefully he keeps that velocity up, because he was absolutely dog shit before his injury. But yeah, Tyler Phillips goes 9 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. His ERA is down to a 1.8. And I mean, this is his third start. Fourth, if you want to count that 1 inning against the Braves. But I mean, like, he was absolutely raking. And I mean, I texted you earlier, Dalt, looking at some of the stats in the past. The last rookie to win his first 3 starts was Randy Phillips in 1999. And then the last complete game shutout by a rookie was 2016 by Zach Eflin. So, like, just this guy's story coming up from South Jersey, growing up in South Jersey, watching the Phillies that, he's only 2 years older than me, or I guess a year, because I'll be 25 at the end of August. But, growing up watching the same guys I watched with Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, all those guys, going to the vet as a kid and watching the Phillies when they used to play in the vet there, going to CBP when it was first open and watching them there. Again, like, this guy's story, if he can continue this season, is going to be absolutely amazing. And if they do win the World Series, and let's say theoretically Tyler Phillips pitches a game in the World Series and wins, like, just imagine that. Like, that's just going to be an overall great story.
Yeah, he's like making the most of his opportunity too. Like, you hit the nail on the head. Like, I think if any of us were out there, I at least would shit my pants. I'd be nervous as hell. And he is calm, cool, collected, cool as a cucumber, and making the most of every moment out there. He's taking it literally pitch by pitch, and you just see that. And I think that kind of approach to the game can sometimes be forgotten. And I really just love that he's just taking it slow. And I think it throws off each situation is different for him. It's all new to him too. But like Shard said, just growing up a fan, like, we're all a fan that much more of him. And he's making the most of it. As a fan, he's out there, and like Jimmy Joe's, what's up, Fratty, getting that Phillies ballpark opinion. Like Fratty said, he's a true professional, and he was great tonight too. So glad to see it, and glad to see that the kid's making the most of the opportunity, because, as a fan, like you said, you root for somebody that grows up. Like, there's guys that come here, and then there's guys that come here from Philadelphia. And when, there's somebody that was that close and may know people that or something like that, it's such a cool storyline. So could you imagine if he has a game in the World Series where he just goes off with that, and then we walk out with a ring? Yeah, be very cool.
I mean, I know I said it before, and he reiterated it again today in his post-game conference, but he said basically that every time he goes out, he pitches like he absolutely hates the person on the mound, like just full of rage. And for him to go out and pitch 9 shutout innings against the second best team in baseball, because the Cleveland Guardians are literally right behind us. They're 3 games back from us. They're the best in the AL, second best in the MLB. And for a rookie to go out and do that, like, that's just, especially after the game last night too, just absolutely amazing. I couldn't ask for more. And honestly, I think he's earned another start. I mean, like, it seems like every time he's out there, he's just earning another start. And with Ranger going down, Ranger got put on the IL for 15 days. It's exactly what you needed from a guy that's going to come up and fill in. And I knew something was wrong with Ranger, especially after his last couple games where he just looked like absolute dog shit. He got put on a 15-day IL today with lower back soreness. So, I mean, same thing that Wheeler had, and Wheeler got put on the IL for a little bit. And so hopefully Ranger comes back and is dominant, because we need him to be that Ranger that we knew he was at the beginning of the season. Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, I get he's your third starter. Your third starter is not always going to be the most reliable person, but like, just some of his outings lately are just very questionable. But going into the next topic, the one thing I want to talk about, after the past couple nights of the bats being absolutely cold, the Phillies tonight just come out and rake the Guardians pitching. The Guardians have a pretty good bullpen, especially after their starters go out. I mean, look at last night. The bullpen came in and, closed the door on the Phillies, but they were able to take advantage of it tonight. I mean, looking at the home runs tonight, Harper hit a 4th inning off of Carrasco. Marsh hit a 4th inning off of the same guy. Schwarber hit 4th inning off of Sadlin. And Caskey hit a 6th inning off of Avila. And they were saying earlier, this is the first time in a year where they've gotten 7 or more runs in the 4th inning. The last time that they were able to do that was August of last year. So, I mean, just they got to keep this up. They got to keep being dominant. I mean, you're going from the Guardians, and I think, honestly, you play the Yankees next. So like the Yankees just got Jazz Chisholm from the Marlins. So I mean, you got to keep this up. You can't keep your foot off the gas right now, especially with it coming to a close of July and going into August. This is like the home stretch. You got to keep your foot on the gas.
Yeah, and for them to just explode in that inning like that, I think was really like kind of their moment for them too, to see like, hey, like we can do this. This is our own worst enemies ourselves. This is all in our head. So I hope that they see that at least. I hope that some of these younger guys see it, because for Brandon Marsh to go 0 for 25, that's unacceptable. Like that, could you imagine if that happened in the playoffs? That would not be, we would be calling for his head. So I hope that these younger guys understand that, like, I don't want to say it's good that it happened now, but like it's in the past now, is maybe like Stott's kind of slump that he went through. Now, last night, obviously, he had a great home run, but they got to understand that like this has got to be an everyday thing for you guys. And like when you do mess up, you got to be able to come back the next day. It can't be consistent, because I know we call them the daycare and all that, but they're getting more expectations as they grow up more in the Philadelphia Phillies organization. And we need to expect more out of them too. You know, that's going to be the only way that we win a World Series, is if those guys are expecting to bring on more responsibility. Today, they did that. Can they do that every day? We shall see.
Yeah. I mean, they tied up the series, and I think if they win the series tomorrow, they'll be back to their normal selves. I mean, you would win a series. Let me put it that way. Against, like I said earlier, the second best team in baseball. And you already won a series against the Dodgers. They were, I think at the time, second best. So it would just show that, again, you're dominant. And this is exactly what you need coming out of those 3 horrible series against the A's, the Twins, and the Pirates. Because, again, those series were absolutely horrible. You lost 3 back-to-back series openers. I think 4 now, honestly, because they lost yesterday. They won today, but just they got to figure something out. And we're going to talk about it here in a second, because they've made some trades. That's going to lead us into our next topic. I personally don't think they're done with trades. I still think they need a little bit more. The first trade they made yesterday was Austin Hayes from the Orioles. We didn't have a show yesterday, again, like I said earlier. But they got Austin Hayes from the Orioles. They traded Sir Anthony Dominguez and Pache. Personally, I saw the Pache part coming, because Pache has just been terrible lately. And they've been, playing him a lot more, especially before the trade deadline, to see what he was worth. The Sir Anthony thing, I'm kind of questioning in a sense. I know Sir Anthony has not been the most reliable lately. He's been pretty decent. It's like 50-50. It's like if you're sitting on a fence, honestly, you're either going to fall on the good side or the bad side. You could fall on the grass and be perfectly fine, or you can fall on the rose bushes and the thorns and hurt yourself. But I mean, we wouldn't have had the 2022 run without Sir Anthony, because Sir Anthony pitched that last game against the Braves to advance us to the NLCS. And yeah, I mean, if he could have gotten back to his 2022 self, it would have been fine. But Austin Hayes makes his debut tonight in left field. Rob Thompson said that he's mostly going to play Hayes in left field and move Marsh and Rojas to a center field kind of platoon rotating. Personally, I'm not 100% in acceptance with that. I don't think Marsh should be your bench guy. But then again, he's been batting really bad lately. So it's like I understand the move. Hayes goes 1 for 4 today. He accounts for 1 run. He stole a few bags. So he is starting to make his debut and make his legacy here in Philly. He got a standing ovation. My cousin went to the game tonight, and he sent me a video. It looked like it was pretty loud there for Hayes in his standing ovation. But I like the trade. I think, honestly, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter, they could have probably went for Luis Robert, or they could have went for Jazz Chisholm. Jazz Chisholm just went to the Yankees. But this guy's pretty decent. I think he'll be better than Merrifield, even though they're wearing the same numbers. I don't understand why, but
Yeah. I like Hayes the little bit that I've seen about him. I know we talked about it a little bit on Sibin Sports today. Unfortunately for the guy, he was overshadowed a lot by some of the Orioles' better players. But last year was an all-star, had a bunch of home runs last year. This year, I think he only has 3. So yeah, I don't know why it's so zoomed in, Steve. But yeah, I mean, Hayes seems like he's a good depth piece. And not only that, I mean, now Philly Rob says he's not going to be a depth piece. When he first came here, I thought that he was going to be a depth piece. Now, clearly, he's not. And it sounds like Marsh is going to be a depth piece. So that kind of surprised me. But I guess at the same time, when you go 0 for 25, yeah, it's not going to be a necessarily massive shock. It was good today to see him kind of bounce back, but I think that the Phillies just need to surround their team with as many good players and as many players that are capable of getting hot at bat as they can right now, especially as we get closer to October. Because once we get to October, it's not going to be about what you did, it's going to be about what you can do. And you better have plenty of guys because injury still happens then and things can get bad. So praying for the Phillies that, this ends up shaking out their way. Because like Shard said too, I mean, Sir Anthony Dominguez provided some great moments last year and this year too. But last year, I mean, especially the year that we went to the World Series. Yeah, so that's never fun, but hopefully this will end up being a good thing. I will say too, the picture of Pache and I forget who else was involved in the trade. They just look miserable. But it's funny because Pache's picture kind of looks like how he looked in Philadelphia when he first came here. So I wonder if that's just his like shocked face, you know what I mean? And like he's still shell shocked by the trade.
Right. And I watched a little bit of the Sir Anthony highlights from last night. It was funny because he just did not look like his normal self. And I don't know if you saw, but he threw a ball so hard at the net that literally it ripped a big hole like through the netting behind home plate. You'll have to look it up, but it was funny. I like the trade because it's like both sides, you really aren't really giving up much. Austin Hayes, he was pretty decent for Baltimore, but he wasn't playing every day. And Camden Yards, the way that it is, the way that it's set up, a lot of the home runs in Camden Yards don't count. Whereas in CBP, because it's a little bit of a smaller park, it would have counted. So if he was playing at CBP for a little bit longer with those home runs, he'd have a little bit more. I think he only has 3 home runs on the season, but his average is pretty decent. He's pretty good. He's one of the best, I think, with on-base percentage in the MLB against lefties. And that's what they needed. They needed a guy to match up with Marsh in the lineup and platoon with Marsh to hit against lefties because the Phillies have been facing a lot of lefties lately. And Marsh sucks against lefties. Stott's starting to heat up, but he's not the best against lefties. So, but for them to get rid of Sir Anthony and Pache, I'm fine with because that leads us into our next topic. You got rid of Sir Anthony and you filled him with a new closer, and they did this trade mid-game. I was driving, so I had to ask my wife to look at who they traded. But the Phillies trade 2 prospects for Angels closer Carlos. I'm going to probably butcher this, but Estevez, I think that's how you say his last name. They struck a deal with Los Angeles Angels on Saturday. He's a right-handed reliever. They gave up 2 prospects. They gave up George Klassen and Sam. I'm going to again butcher this. Aldajiri, I think that's how you say his name. The guy we got, Estevez, he's a 6'6", 31-year-old. He spent the last 2 seasons as the Angels closer. I believe he was an all-star. I think it was last season. I don't think it was this season. This season, he has a 2.38 ERA and 34 appearances. He's been lights out since the week of Memorial Day, ripping off 18 straight scoreless appearances. So 18 straight scoreless appearances. And he's retired 53 of the last 58 batters he's faced. That's honestly pretty decent. And his fastball is an average 97 miles per hour. I think that's exactly what you needed as in a closer. I don't see any downfall to this. You didn't get rid of any of your starters. You got rid of your prospects. Honestly, you didn't get rid of Abel. You didn't get rid of Painter. You didn't get rid of Crawford. I honestly think the Phillies are saying to people that they're untouchable right now. And yeah, I like it. It's exactly what you needed.
I'll put it to you guys this way. Shard likes it. I like it. No, in all seriousness, I think for the Phillies, we were all saying after they made this move for Hayes, like, okay, now we need a closer. Like, we need a new face in here. We need somebody that's going to come in and fill that role. And they went out and they got it. Obviously, I don't know much about the guy. Going to learn a lot, and we'll see how it all shakes out. I mean, I'm glad that they made a move. I think it was a move that they needed to make, and see how it plays out. Like I said, closer was the position that they needed. So I'm glad that they went for that, because if they would have went for something fielding wise, I probably would have flipped my computer, because it's like, you don't need any more of that. You need pitching help. So
yeah. I mean, I don't think they need any fielding help in terms of like infield. I think
honestly, no infield. You want a center fielder maybe, and then move somebody else to left field?
Yeah, I could see that. I think you need at least one more outfield bat, in my opinion. Like I said, Hayes is decent. It really just depends on how well he does here. I still think you should have probably, like I said earlier, went for somebody else. And I still think you should maybe get one more pitching closer. Because like Steve said here, Rob might not even use him as a closer. He might use him as like a 7-8 guy. Which I would be fine with personally, because, I mean, you would fill Sir Anthony's spot, because Sir Anthony was coming in for 7-8 anyway, and then you would use like Strom or Hoffman to close, which they've been fine closing themselves. They've proved that they're all-stars this season. Overall, though, like I said, I'm fine with it. I'm going to play a clip here and I'll show you. But, I mean, it looks like he's absolutely nasty. Granted, this clip is against the Rays. The Rays aren't the very best team this season, but still looks pretty nasty.
One more night. Swing.
I mean, just like the way that he's throwing curveballs, fastballs, his changeups, just they look absolutely filthy. He goes fastball, slider versus righties, incorporates a changeup 1 out of every 4 pitches versus lefties. So that's, for a pitcher, for you to change up your pitching like that in your rotation and have an arsenal like that, it still seems pretty nasty. And honestly, I feel like the way that the Phillies pitching staff has been this season with just tweaking small things, you look at the way the pitching was last season compared to now, they've tweaked a lot of small things, like Sanchez, for example. They tweaked his slider. They told him to, kind of throw it down a little bit more to get guys swinging. Same thing with Strom. They kind of tweaked his pitching and told him to kind of throw it in a different spot, and it's getting guys to swing. So I think, especially with Estevez, if they see something that they don't like, they can tweak it. I think it'll be fine. I like it. I like the signing. I think this is exactly what you need. But I do think I'm going to say this. With all the injuries to Phillies starting pitching lately, you have Taijuan Walker. You don't know when he's going to get back. I haven't even heard anything about Turnbull. Like, nobody said anything about Turnbull. He's just been radio silent with his injury. I forget who they called up for Ranger. I didn't even look, honestly. I can look now. But, I mean, if this guy doesn't work out, you're kind of SOL. So it's like, honestly, if you want to do something before the deadline, do it now. I'm going to look and see who they Phillies place Ranger Suarez, 15-day IL. To fill his spot, left-handed pitcher Colby Allard. I've never personally heard of this guy. He got recalled from Lehigh Valley AAA, so we'll see what he can do. I mean, he might be another Tyler Phillips gem. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, do you have anything else you want to say about the closer that they got?
Nope. Like I said, if Shard's happy, I'm happy.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of all we really have. Phillies win 8-0. This is the fourth shutout of the season. This was the great bounce back game that they needed. They needed this game. They needed this bounce back win. They'll go for this the series win tomorrow. It's 1-1 right now. They play at, I believe, 1:30 tomorrow. 1:35. And then because Ranger got put on the IL, Colby Allard will be pitching tomorrow. So I don't know how to feel about it personally. I think it could go either way. But we'll see. Yeah, I don't have anything else. But for those of you that follow our Twitter, if you guys want to look, we are looking for another host. If anybody wants to send an application to me or Dole, we are looking for another host to join us on the show. So always looking for young, talented minds that are creative and outgoing. So definitely need that energy. I've seen a couple commenting about it here during the show. So
yeah, Steve, if you want, DM, what's your visit Philly Shardy, your one Instagram shard that you have?
Yeah, it's Philly Shardy, or same thing on Twitter. You can hit me up on Twitter, either or.
Yeah, I would send Eric a message, Steve, because what we're going to probably do is try to schedule some time to just meet with everybody briefly. And then it's going to be Eric's decision at the end of the day, because Eric kind of oversees everything Phillies for us, and he does a great job with it. So it's going to be kind of his call at the end of the day. And he put his @ right here so you can see how to spell it and everything. But if you want to hit him up on Twitter or on Instagram, like he said, Steve, that's your best way to connect with us about potentially joining. And for anyone else who might want to, it doesn't have to be one person that we add. Trust me, we're open to adding multiple people. But you got to be a good fit. And we would want to do, obviously, a little bit of interview and a little bit of test first. But yeah, man, that's all I got.
Yeah. So I'll be back again tomorrow. I believe Dalt will be on tomorrow. If not, somebody will be here. It's always
I'll be here.
Revolving door of people that love the Phillies like we do. So everybody have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a few drinks. Worship this, win. It's exactly what the Phillies needed. And see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.
The Vikings! Swing and a drive. Left field. It's gone! And it's gone! It is Bedlam at the bank!
The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
It is